These are what I consider the beginner or entry level Noodler pens. I mainly use Noodlers, and I use it for writing purposes and art purposes, and they have a different selection of it. Um, I decided I would compare these guys, which based in kind of around price point and usability compared to the other Noodler's pens. Also, I decided to film this because at this point, if you go online, and I'm doing this in 2020, and if you research these different pens and whatnot, you look at different forums and comparisons, some of the stuff dates way back, at least 10 years back. So, yeah, I think some things have changed over time, and it just would be good to have something that was updated. Now, full disclaimer, if there's anything that I miss or mess up, or if you have any questions, please leave in the comments and I'll try to address that. So we have the Charlie pen, the Standard Flex or the Nib Creeper. We have the Conrad, and we have the Ahab. So this is the only one I have inked up right now. This is the Conrad, and I have it inked up with Lexington Gray. So let me label these. This is your Charlie, right here. This is, I'm going to move them out the way at this point. We'll start using them. This is our Standard. It also pops up as the Creeper, so you'll see those two names used interchangeably for that pen. We'll have the Conrad. And then we will have the Ahab. Okay, so just check to make sure everything's looking good. Yep, it is. So let's talk about price point. Now the Charlie pen will be free with some 4.5 ounce bottles. I don't think all the bottles come with one, so just check into it and see which one you're getting to see if you get that free Charlie pen. Then we have the Standard Creeper, which I believe the average range is about $16, so you can go a little bit in each direction. Okay, so if you're looking at websites and they have a sale, or if they have a 10% discount or anything like that, or maybe on eBay, you'll see different variations. So about 16 seems to be the range. The Conrad is about $20. Now this Conrad is made of that vegetable resin, just like these other pens. There's another level up that I'm going to talk about hopefully in another video that is at a higher price point. They're made from acrylic. So that could go, I think, in either direction. You might see it down to 18, give or take, and you may see it at let's say 22 to 24, something like that. Now the Ahab, I believe that is the most expensive of these, but it's only at $22. You can often find those on sale. You can see them a little bit more expensive online. I think it also depends on where you are in the world and where you're ordering things from. So let's say that could be all the way up to 26 if you're buying on eBay with shipping. You can find used ones or things on sale. I think I've seen it as low as $18. Okay, so that's that. To put it in perspective, okay, so free-wise, I don't know of any other ones that come with the bottle ink for free, unless there's some sort of deal being run with other pens. Then in this range right here, between free and 16, you'll see the Platinum Preppy. You'll see your Chinese pens, and that is maybe around the $10 higher mark is when you see Platinum Plaisir, I believe it's pronounced. You'll see the Platinum Desk pen. You'll see some other pens. You'll also see the Pilot Metropolitan in this range, and it may go a little bit higher. So just give you guys a comparison with prices with other beginner pens. Now, those other pens that I mentioned really don't have much adjustability to them. That's kind of the appeal of the Noodler's pens to me. Let's even write that out. Let's talk about that for a moment. For a pen, people think about the filling system. They'll consider the material, the nib size, maybe hackability. Like an example of that would be the Jinhao that people like to put the Zebra Z nibs in. But I think you have to change those nibs pretty often because they will rust. But that's an example of hackability right there. Let's see. You might look at color and aesthetics. You may look for, one thing is smell. These are made out of vegetable resin, all of these, and they have a smell to them. Some people like them, some people don't like the smell. Some people say you can get rid of the smell very easily by letting it air out. Other people can't smell it at all. The material, we talked about that. We talked about color, the nib size, if there's flex. So these are things that you kind of want to consider when getting into fountain pens. The other brands that I had mentioned don't have really the hackability, but the material is more of a metal as opposed to resin. Filling system, the other brands that I mentioned will take cartridges or will have a separate converter that you need to purchase. So there's all these things to kind of consider when getting into pens. And it's kind of good to just dive right in and get a pen and then start, experimenting and see what you like from there. So this first one is the Charlie pen, which is very simple, straightforward. It's an eyedropper filled pen, and it comes free with some bottles. Right here I have a bottle of Heart of Darkness. I've been using that a lot for experimenting and adjusting pens. This is 4.5 ounces. You can get it for $20, give or take. Maybe $18, $18.50 might be the more middle line for that. But to come with a pen is great, for you to play around with. And it feels like I'm not really wasting ink because I have so much I can utilize. So these are the parts. I believe the cap comes off. The feed, I believe, may be ebonite, and that's common with all of the Noodler's pens, where you can do what's called heat setting, where if you have any issues with the pen, with flow, if it's too wet or too dry, you can start playing around with putting it in hot water. There's tutorials on that. Maybe one day I'll make a video of that. And then pressing the nib and feed together to help it heat set and sit maybe more flush. I guess it helps with the capillary action of it. I believe the pen, the nib is what they call number size 2. I'm starting to experiment with nibs and play around with interchangeability, grinding the tip, grinding the edges to see if the flex changes and whatnot, which is a good thing for Noodlers. They often refer to Noodler's pens as, for people that like to tinker or experiment. My goal is, art and whatnot. Anyway, so this is an eyedropper filled pen. I just dropped the ink in. One thing that people say about these is that after you get to 1/3 left, you may have what's called burping, where ink will splatter out at times. I'm not sure if it's quite because of the capacity of the ink that you have in, if it's 1/3, or the fact that it's in your hand, you're heating up the air inside it, so it's trying to pass things through. So this is the Charlie pen. I didn't clean this one at all. I didn't run any water through the nib. One thing that people recommend is with the Noodler's nibs or other ones in general is to flush the pen, take it out, soap and water, whatnot, and then rinse it off. But this is just out the box. Let's see if we can get it flowing. So we put the ink in. It just needs to start getting down into that bead. See if we can start getting. I might have to jump start if I dip in a little ink in there. Let's just drop some ink on the end and see if that happens. Okay, so I just put some ink on the end. The quick brown fox. Okay, so that's the Charlie pen. It comes with a non-flex nib. Let me see how close I can get, if it'll focus. You'll see that hole right there. The Noodler's pens with the holes are non-flex. If the slit goes all the way back, it's going to be a flex pen. I want to separately do a video about interchangeability, but let me grab this nib off of the creeper and see if I can switch those around, just to kind of give you an idea of what could take place. Where do I want to put this? As you may have noticed, this is also my art table, so I don't really want to get ink everywhere. Okay, so I just put in a flex nib that I just pulled off of that standard. So I'm going to have to get it started. When you start playing with flex, that's when you start playing with the heat setting and the depth of the nib itself. So that's where the beginner aspect is slightly questionable if you start mixing with the flex and whatnot in order to get it to work the way you want. I did not do any reverse writing on that, so I will do that as well. This will probably be the last time I do any interchanging on this video, but I'm just literally just pulling a nib out and put in the other one. Okay. Upside down writing, so you get a thinner line if you're on the back. Some pens I find if I do that reverse writing, it's a little uncomfortable for me. This one is not bad. Okay, so that was the nib creeper. Sorry, the Charlie pen. If I referred to it as the nib creeper, please forgive me. So Charlie pen, this one comes free with some Noodler's ink pens. Next, we have the standard creeper. This one comes with a flex nib. You could buy nib replacements online. You could also buy feed replacement online. And this is where more adjustability starts taking place, or customization. So it's a piston filler. Twist this guy, and that would be filled up. Twist in the opposite direction. The plunger on the inside moves. That would push the ink out. And taking apart is pretty simple. I believe we just continue pushing in that direction and it'll come apart, but your best bet is to watch a different video on that just to check. So I'm going to put some Heart of Darkness in this. Am I getting any? Let's go in the opposite direction with the twisting. There you go. We got this one pretty full. Okay, so now we're on standard creeper, the nib creeper. This is a flex pen. And as you saw, I had taken the nib out, put the nib back in to test it on the other pen. And you can see that this one was working good. I must have fiddled around with this one or played around, so it's good. So this is a good cheap introduction to flex. I'm not good at that thing that people do. You see the line variation. I haven't had any railroading either, so it's a good option. This is comparable in size to the Charlie pen, as you can see. So one thing to consider is your hand size and how it is for you. Okay. Next, we have the Conrad, which I have inked up with, I believe it is Lexington Gray, but it seems to be like the writing is pretty dark. So maybe I might have mixed that up. This fills up like the previous pen, except it has a blind cap on the end. You remove the blind cap, you twist this up and down, you put it in the ink, and it'll pull it up. Disassembly involves, I believe, gripping this closer section and untwisting that. Now, let's see. Anything else I need to add? All right, so this is a flex nib on this. It takes number 6, I believe. There's a few different brands that do number 6 pens, nibs for cheap. Let's see if I have any examples. Noodlers themselves has a few different ones in that line. Like right here I have some non-flex number 6s from Noodlers that are like $2 or $3. So if you're ever having trouble and you're just like not enjoying the flex, or you just want a standard nib, there's a lot of replacements out there. Anywhere from a few bucks to maybe 16, 20 bucks. And I know I have some more examples of these. They have the non-flex tipped. They have flexed on-tipped, which I think the Noodlers guy, Nathan, has a video about cutting it and getting different calligraphy shapes out of it. And there is the non-tipped, non-flex. So there's 4 options, I believe, altogether. This one is my personal favorite. I use it quite a bit. And I'm just pressing hard, and you can see that there's no railroading. So it just feeds really well for me. I may have heat set this one, but I really enjoy it. I've used this one for artwork, and I've successfully, sold or given away artwork that was made with this. Reverse. So you see that there's quite a difference between those two. Very light-handed. I'll try that swoosh thing that I am not good at. Shows you some variety. So this one works really good. It's a great feeder. I think, like I said, this is my favorite, and that price point is great. I do have a few in the upper tier of the Conrads with different material. The one thing being is that with this material, it just feels a little bit different for me, and I just had wanted a prettier pen with the acrylic and ebonite. Though I don't think they make the ebonite ones anymore. I think that those are discontinued. So that is the Conrad. The feed and all that comes out just like it did for the other 2 pens. Now last we have the Ahab. I believe the Ahab is the most popular of these pens. Inside I have what's called a 308 cartridge. I'll just take it apart real quick so you can see all the parts for this one. So it's pretty much like the Charlie, except with a cartridge. This one could be eyedroppered like the Charlie. You can get an O-ring to put right there, or they might come with an O-ring. Mine may have broke. Put some grease around those edges. If you're gonna play with pens, it's kind of good to have that grease there. So you could eyedropper this. That'd be a lot of ink. I think people do that as well. This one does not come with the 308 cartridge. It comes with a push-pull mechanism and a breather tube attached to it. So if you were to get one of these, it would come, this would be tied in, is this, yeah, and it just push-pull. So I'd have the pen together, nib and all that, put in the ink, and suck it up. But I like the 308 cartridge because, first of all, it's super cheap. You can carry around extras. I do want to experiment with it as a vial to pour into my Boston safety pen to carry around and have extra ink in that fashion. So let's put this guy together. It comes with this little guy that you could close on it, but you just got to be careful because I'll have some ink on that side and you could get ink on your fingers and whatnot, so just be careful. So this pen, I think I might have said it might be the most popular of the series. I think it is the largest. And I threw the nib all the way over here. If I had lost the nib, not the nib, the feed, wouldn't have been too bad. Feeds you can get probably from $3 to $5, depending on where you look. So that's another good thing, is that you can get replacement parts and that you can take it apart, because some of the other pens nowadays, or just in general, I don't think you could really take apart. So I'm going to need to get this one flowing. Let me see if I can drop a little ink on there instead of dipping in. No, I'll just dip in. Let's see. I don't think I have ink running yet. Sorry about that, guys. So you could sit here shaking like a madman when you first get a pen inked up. Kind of like the same thing when you put a cartridge in a pen. So here's just thin lines. Let's see if I can get some flex going. Oh yeah. I don't think I heat setted this one. Look at that. So they're all wet writers for the most part. Let's see, the hello. And that's just scribbling like that, reverse. And there you go. This one comes in a variety of colors as well. So to recap, I guess that's a pun, right? We're working with pens and caps. Charlie pen, eyedropper filled, free with some of the Noodler's 4.5 bottles. I recommend buying a big old bottle so you don't feel like you're using gold with your ink, and you're not timid, and you can kind of experiment and play around. Potential issue is burping and whatnot. And you might need to grease the threads. Standard creeper, good price point, thin like the Charlie, comes with a flex nib. And I think early in the video I put that nib on this one and we were able to interchange them. And you could buy extra nibs for that. I believe it's a number 2. I want to do a separate video talking about that. But I think you can get an extra nib, nib for about $4 in feeds. Okay, then we have the Conrad, which is a size up. This is my personal preference, my personal favorite. Actually, now you can see the difference between Lexington Gray and that. Both of these two are piston fillers, a little bit thicker. Nice variety. They have some with ink windows on them that you can see through. This one has the ink window as well. Last but not least, the seems to be the most popular of the group, the Ahab. Same nib feed system, filled differently, a different hand, shape in the hand. I could also show you postability. So I could post this on the back right here. Postability. Okay, that's good, good. Sometimes I post, sometimes I don't. My fiance has to post her pen, so I guess some people like just need to have that. So that's that posted right there. And that's that poster right there. So they all post, no issues. Well, that ends part 1 of my exploration of Noodler's pens. Please check out the bottom, all the links. Like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you want me to discuss, what you want me to show. And hopefully within the next few days, I will have another video filmed about Noodler's pens. Might go into more detail. I might talk about the higher range, might talk about nib interchangeability, etc. All right, thank you for watching, and have a great day.